20% of people give up on their New Year's resolutions 1 week into the new year. 43% quit by the end of January. The new habit they wanted to form, or the exercise they said they intended to do, the diet that always starts tomorrow. Let's face it, New Year's resolutions just don't work. They never will. And technological devices are putting fuel into the fire. Welcome back to Code Red, Technology Madness and the Future of Humanity. My name is Ursula Eysin. I'm the founder and CEO of Red Swan in beautiful Vienna, Austria. And it's my pleasure to co-host this podcast with Silicon Valley-based inventor and entrepreneur Chris Kalaboukis, who is currently running 9 businesses and still doesn't seem to be stressed out at all. Very
I'm working
welcome
on
to
number
the show,
10.
Chris.
I'm working on number 10.
Great. Let's jump into this episode about New Year's resolutions. During the run up to Christmas and New Year, the pressure people put on themselves was just wild. In Japanese culture, they've got a term for this craziness: karoshi, overworking to death. And it indeed felt like the plan was to grind away to the brink of exhaustion before Christmas, then try and enjoy your family time till the new year kicks off, only to stumble again while trying to achieve those New Year's resolutions they say you should have. Adding insult to injury, in our hyperconnected world, all our technological devices constantly bombard us with things to be afraid of, things we should be ashamed of, and things to be excited about. My inbox and social feeds were flooded with big mouthed marketers pouring gasoline on the fire. Make 2024 your year, they screamed at me from the screen. Or even better, 2024 won't be a walk in the park. Start preparing now. If not, it's already too late. Well, I thought, thanks a lot on top of the pressures I already face as a business owner and the daily dose of things to be horrified about the news keeps delivering, you're tossing in some extra pressure right before Christmas. I would say modern society adds 2 more elements to the principle of karoshi: death by information overload and death by the terror of hyperconnectivity, while simultaneously starving for genuine connection with real people. Stop, please, just stop. I can't take it anymore. What do you think about that, Chris? Maybe you experienced it differently. You always seem so chilled. Do you ever get stressed out at all?
That's because I practice ataraxia, which is the ancient Greek art of just being calm all the time.
I'm so glad that we have a Greek Canadian here who can teach us just that. How do you do that?
Well, at some point, you just have to tune it all out because it's just noise. And it's interesting you should mention that the sort of the year turnover as a thing. And the way I like to think of it as is that all of this that we've done, we've created ourselves. If you think about it, the today is February 1st, right? February 1st doesn't really exist. It's a day,
Mhm.
but it's not really. We have created the construct of February. We have created the construct of the first. We have created the construct of a year. All of these things aren't really real. Like the time, it is not 7:13. 7:13 does not exist. It is a concept that we have created just so that we can all work together, right? Because if you think about it, prior to, I think, railroads connecting everybody together, everybody had their own time zone. Everybody had their own clock. Everybody had their own sundial or whatever telling you it was kind of around this time. And in the mechanization of humanity, we've created this whole structure around us. And it's not real, right? We know a day is real. We know a year is real. But the actual specific day, the date, the weekend, the weekday, all of these things are just constructs that we've created. When you realize that these are just constructs that we've created, you can say to yourself, well, that's not such a big deal because it's it's not really real. And that's how I think of it sometimes, is that it's morning, it's afternoon, it's evening. It's not particularly that specific time. So if you
Mhm.
disconnect yourself from this overly mechanized structure that we've created, then you can calm down and say to yourself, well, you know what? It's not really that big a deal because this is not a real thing. So the
That's
beginning
true.
of 2024, it's not a real thing. The actual year 2024, it's not a real thing either. I mean, we just arbitrarily said, you know what? This is when we're gonna pick this year to start, and we're gonna go to today, and this
Mhm.
is it. So the only reason we've done this is so that we can work together better. So if you think about it in those kind of terms and disconnect this mechanized framework from reality, then I don't know, makes me feel calmer. I don't know if it does it for anybody else.
I think it's also very good if you look at other cultures.
Right.
Just the Chinese, I studied in China, I have Chinese friends. Their New Year is at another date. And
Hmm.
even the Orthodox Church, like we have all
Oh
these
yeah, I'm
Eastern
Orthodox as well,
European
and
countries.
we
Yes,
have different dates.
yes.
It's all over the map. So
You
everything.
insist on your own Christmas and your own New Year.
Well, somebody said it was is because we have our Christmas after the regular Christmas, so we can take advantage of all the sales, right? But I don't think that's the case.
I didn't I didn't know that, but it's definitely a good thing, right? And
Well,
also
it's like Greek
you can
Orthodox
celebrate
Easter is
all
at a
the
different
time,
date.
right? You start
Yeah,
at the 24th of December and then right
yeah.
into
Every day's a celebration, right?
January January 14th when you're finally ready for the new year. When
Well,
or when
it's
other
interesting.
people already have given up on their New Year's resolutions.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, this is part of human nature, right? I
Mm,
mean, the thing I like to say that humans are lazy, and
mhm,
everyone pushes back at me. What are you talking about? People are lazy. I'm like, no, no, people are. You might not want to call it lazy.
mm,
Let's call it.
and
We like to conserve our resources, right? We like to
yes,
get as much bang for the
for the
buck.
buck.
So if we put a certain amount of effort into it, we want to get a lot of return for this effort. So when we don't see a lot of return for the effort, we give up. And that's what ends up happening. And I think you're right about looking at it from different cultures, because some of the Eastern cultures are definitely take a longer view on things. I
Mm,
mean, my wife is Japanese. We watch Japanese dramas, and there's some shows where you've got people who are sitting there polishing a bowl for like 100 days. It's like I don't see an American polishing a bowl for 100 days.
mm,
They'll slap a coat of paint on it and sell it, right? It's like the amount of time. It's like the perception of time is
mm.
completely different. There's a long term view, right? And we have everything. We look at everything in a short term view, and it's the same thing with when you're trying to change behaviors, because everybody, that's the whole point of New Year's resolutions,
Yes,
if you ask me, is that there's a
to
behavior that
stop
I'm
it.
trying to change. Either I'm
Mm.
trying to stop smoking or lose weight or work out or whatever, because there's something about us that we don't like, and we want to change that behavior. And
And
the
the new
problem
year
is that
helps us with that
well,
magically.
yeah, I mean,
Mm,
for some reason, human beings like to use the start of something new to start something new, like whether
mm.
it's the beginning of the week or the beginning of the month or whatever. I mean, how many times have you said to yourself, "Oh, I'll start my diet on Monday." Well, why are you starting your diet on Monday? Why not start now? Why? What's that old proverb? The best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago or today, right?
Yes.
So why
Mm,
wait,
mm.
right? But for some reason, we like to use that, well, like you said, as an excuse so that we don't have to start right now. and but
We
we have
have
to look
the
at it.
hope we will start next year.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I think we have to look at things from a longer
Yes,
term perspective, right?
exactly.
So instead of thinking to yourself, well, I'm going to lose like 10 pounds in a week or 2 pounds in a week, I'm going to say I'm going to lose 10 pounds in a month or 2 months or something like that. As long as I'm slowly inching my way towards my goals, I can do that. And it requires a
Consistency,
whole shift, mindset
that
shift
shift.
to look at things in that longer term view. And I think it happened to me once when I was doing a weight loss regimen, and I was noticing that the thing I ate today didn't affect my weight tomorrow. It affected my weight like 2, 3 days later. And I thought, well, this
Mm.
is actually a longer term thing. So you can't say that the thing that you ate now, because this is what people do. They go, oh, I had that donut. So tomorrow I'm going to get on the scale and I'll be like fat. And then you eat the donut, you get on the scale, it's lower. It's like, oh, what happened? And then 2 days later, it's up again. You go, wait a minute. Our bodies don't work like that, right? So we're trying
Yes.
to take these physical, natural systems and regiment them into this structure, and they're just not meshing properly. And I think that's part of what's happening. We have to take things into a much longer term perspective than we actually are doing.
That's right. And also, I think that can get very toxic when marketers use that on social media.
Mm,
There's a principle I really like for handling distress effectively, but it goes totally against what algorithms push for. as they thrive on negativity,
Hmm.
controversy, and conflict. And it is never express a negative without also offering a solution. I think that's really, really good, but you are not rewarded for that on social media.
No.
So, and I also have to say the solution is not signing up for your sales webinar before midnight with a nerve wracking countdown added until the deadline's over. That's not it. That's not the solution. That's definitely,
You got to create that tension, right? To try to
yes,
force people into doing
yes,
something, even
yes.
though that's the funny thing now is that you know that webinar is going to come back again at some point,
Yeah,
because
of
if it
course.
was successful, and,
Yes.
and I always love the emails that come afterwards going, it was
Last
so
chance.
successful that we had to extend it another
Sold
24
out.
hours, and I'm like, you
And
didn't.
you know it's all a lie, right? It's all
Yeah,
a lie.
exactly.
And of course I
So
know,
maybe that's the big problem. Too many people lie on social media, and too
yes.
many people lie on the internet. We have to really try and figure out some way of separating the truth from the lies, because maybe
That's
that's the real
right.
pandemic, right?
Yes. Oh, that's the real absolutely, absolutely. So many lies. And yes, I know you sometimes you have to create shortage because people think, oh, I have to get in now because otherwise I miss it. But so many of these things are just not credible. Why would it be sold
Yeah,
out? It's a digital course.
yeah.
You don't have don't have one more.
It's a fake shortage, right?
It's a
They
fake
create
shortage.
this. They
That's right.
create these fake shortages,
Mhm.
and there's just such a proliferation of scammy stuff on the internet. And I was reading something interesting earlier today about Gumroad. Have you
Yes.
familiar with Gumroad
Yes,
and
yes,
the
I
guy who's behind Gumroad? I thought the guy's brilliant. I mean,
mm,
he makes most of his money off of, it's kind of like selling shovels to the miners, right? You've got the people who do the mining, and you people who sell the shovels to the miners. And
mm,
the people who do the mining, they go out there and they take the risks and they do all the hard work, but a lot of times they get nothing out of it. But if you sell your shovels to the miners, you're going to make a ton of money, and you don't have to do it without risk,
yeah.
because you give them the tools for them to take the risk. And I think that's the kind of, I mean, that's where you really need to build your business, is in something that supports the infrastructure of the space that you're in, as opposed to being in the space itself. So there's your startup tip of the day.
That's right. But then you have to provide the platform, and it has to be stable and always accessible.
Oh
It's
yeah, yeah.
so it's tough.
That's even tougher,
Yes,
because
it's tough.
yeah,
It's tough because
yeah,
other platforms do not manage to do that. Gumroad is actually pretty good in it. That you
yeah.
always get your songs or
But
what you downloaded.
99% of what's on Gumroad is probably just a scammy online course that somebody decided to generate with AI. So we're back to, how do you tell the
Yes.
truth from the lie again? And I've even actually, this is idea number 11. So business number 11, I thought of coming up with a website called 1,000 Truths.
Oh,
And basically
that
what it
sounds
is
interesting. I'm up
is
for
that
that. Well,
maybe, I'll set you up with it. But the concept is that we know so little truth.
truth.
There's so little
Yes.
truth out there on the internet and in the world,
Mm,
that we would actually create a website where you post something that we believe is true,
mm,
and then
mm.
people can come in and decide, is it true or is it not true? So it'd be like a plus, yes, it's true, or a minus, it's not true. And then of course, because there's no certainty in this world, or there's no certainty on the internet, we might get something that's like 98% true or 53% true or something like that. So
Mm.
just to start the
And
conversation
what
of,
also is a bit difficult with that is that the truth is not necessarily a democratic decision. Just
exactly.
because the majority think it's true doesn't mean that that is true.
No, but that's what the world has turned into, right? The
Mm,
world has turned into the battle of the, is this true or this not true? So it's democrat. We have turned it into a democratically elected process, instead of
mm,
saying this is an absolute truth because it's observable and scientific. Like, I can use the scientific method and prove that something is true. But you
yes,
post that thing on the internet, and half the people will say no, that's not true, and the other half will say that yes, that is true. So
that's right. It's
we're
really
in the
difficult.
post-truth era, I guess you could say.
Oh, I hope not. I really like truth.
No, I think truth is great, and I mean, as a philosopher, truth is the
Yes.
thing we're trying
You're
to
always
strive
looking
for.
for the yes, you're
Always
always
looking for the truth.
looking for the
But
truth. That's absolutely
I have
great.
these long conversations with a
Mm,
friend of mine about how we could never be 100% certain of what is true. And
mm,
I post these things like, say somebody says something about gravity. It's like, yeah, I mean, we've got theories about gravity and we've got some proofs about gravity, but something could come along. That's the whole interesting thing about science, is that something could come along and upend everything,
mm,
right?
mm.
And so you can't really say that science is settled or that science is accepted. And I say it's accepted at this moment, but something new could come along and completely upend everything. And you have to look at it from that perspective. You can't just say to yourself, this is solid, this is real, this is true, because that truth, again, could change. So we live in a world of grays. There's no black and white anymore.
Yes, but everyone has to find their own way, also if they want to change some habits. And I think is some truth in if a habit is really damaging to yourself, it's true that you should change it, right?
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
yeah, and the problem with I think what ends up happening with habits is that you really need a huge negative stimulus to drive people to change a habit, right?
mm,
So I think you can just say to yourself, okay, it's the end of the year. And this is looking at it from a positive perspective. So you think about it's the beginning of the new year. I want to lose weight or I want to get fit or whatever. And that's a positive stimulus. You imagine yourself as being thinner. You imagine yourself as being more fit, and you use that as a positive stimulus to get you moving. But if you had a heart attack, that's a huge negative stimulus. You're in the hospital, you're thinking, oh my God, I'm going to die. That is the huge driver to change your behavior after that. So
mm.
we need to somehow change our perception in that the optimistic positive vision is just as powerful to us as the negative act. And unfortunately, that's really hard. It's really hard for humans to do.
Yes, that disappoints me a lot, but it's just human nature that pain is stronger than gain. So you
Yeah.
kind of have to work with that, but you cannot use it in this kind of a negative way. Like these
Hmm.
algorithms are really first they are hyping people up and then they are smashing them down. They feel
Yep.
worse than ever because they of course they missed the mark again. They
By
didn't share the
design.
first pounds by design. They did not
Hmm.
build those muscles, did not find the connections they craved in the first place usually, so they feel like
Well,
an utter failure.
Arnold Schwarzenegger's got a new app, which is
Mm,
supposed to be a more positive outlook on that. It's called the
okay,
Pump, I believe. I downloaded and I tried it, and it is more positive.
okay.
It's definitely not as negative as the other apps, but it's like the one app in 100 other apps that are all negative reinforcement.
Mm,
So there's at least people. I think people are starting to see. I'm starting to see sort of like an undercurrent of people going, I'm sick and tired of all this negativity. I really want to do something more positive, more optimistic. I really want to push back this tide. But it's really difficult because as instinctually human beings, negative things appeal to us more because we worried about pain and suffering more than we do about positive things.
yes, but if we want to go in a positive direction, we should focus as if our life depended on it. And this becomes harder and harder for people. Many people aren't even able to focus anymore. I really don't understand it because for me, intense focus, putting all of my energy into something is the best feeling in the world. Really,
Hmm.
that's the best for me. And I don't let high tech distract me from that. But so many people aren't even able to focus anymore. They have what they call TikTok brain, a very short attention span. How do you handle the distractions and what do you do to focus, Chris? I know you like technology and I also know that you have notifications by Twitter. I don't do that. I don't do that. How do you handle that?
You really it's willpower. It's willpower. It's
Mm,
putting the phone down, putting it
mm,
in a different room, just staying away from it and doing something else. It's like for a lot of people, it's just too compelling. And I completely understand because if you think about it, these devices are our windows into the universe, right?
mm.
I mean, you could be sitting anywhere and get access to anything from anyone. So it's the most interesting thing in the world. So I can see why people can't put these things down, but somehow you've got to take this thing and go, you know what? At this point in time, I am not going to go there. And you've got to do something offline. Go for a walk in the woods, read a book, go work out, do something, but you have to disconnect yourself. And I mean, digital detox it's insane how people aren't able to disconnect and put their phones down and go do something else. It's just I'm not sure how. I mean, maybe we can use technology to help us disconnect. See,
I've
there
heard
was
that
this
one before
there
too.
was this we should have an app on here that just shuts the phone down and goes, okay, I will not come back for an hour. So you got to figure out what to do with yourself for an hour.
Yes, I think that's a very good point because this is many people recommend something like they call it sprints, like
Mm,
writing sprints. If you
yep.
really have this TikTok brain and you really cannot focus, like let's say for half an hour, try it with 5 minutes. Then
Yep.
maybe I can do it 10 minutes. So you can work up your time maybe to half an hour, which seems to be kind of the ideal time, and then take 5 minutes a break or something.
Yep.
But I think do that consistently, and you can get out of this quick dopamine hits because they really work against us. That's all
Yep.
what you mentioned. That's all instant gratification, such as likes, buying stuff, subscribing to the gym, or chasing excitement. That all fades fast. It's a quick fix, a way for your mind to escape. It's not a path to lasting success. The problem is those quick fixes wreck our future, really. Real success, real wealth, meaning the ability to live the way you want to live, doesn't come from taking the easy route. That's also a
Yep.
truth. It's all about dedication, commitment, and giving it your all. Half-hearted efforts won't get you anywhere. And dreaming isn't doing. Saying you change tomorrow or next year won't make it happen. Start today
Hmm.
if you really want it. Not tomorrow,
Yep.
not next week, and certainly not next year.
Yep.
Consistency is the game changer. So,
Yep.
what do you do for consistency? Do you have such habits like the writing sprints or something like that?
Oh yeah, yeah. I do that every week. Actually, it's interesting you should mention that because and it's happening today. Every Thursday night, I have a meetup at a cafe nearby called Shut Up and Write. And basically, it's kind of like an
Fun.
anti meetup. So the way it works is that we all
Go there.
gather, we
Hmm.
talk for 15 minutes, and then we literally shut up and write, focused writing for an hour, and then we can talk again for 15 minutes. But for that 1 hour, we're not supposed to talk, we're not supposed to say anything, we're just basically supposed to focus on writing. And I think being in a group, in a physical group in the same place is actually good because you can be accountable to each other, right? And maybe it could work the same way for a digital detox. Maybe you have a bunch of friends come together and they all put their phones at the end of the table or in a bag somewhere and then just talk to each other and just force themselves to stay in the moment
That
for an
used to be
hour or
normal.
whatever.
That used to be normal.
That used to be the way it worked, right? And now it's like everybody's like on their phones.
just uh, just imagine now you say, yeah, everyone should really talk to each other.
Yeah.
That used to
Or
be normal
we should set up
with me.
cafes where there's you check your phone at the door, right?
Yes,
And you can't get it. It's kind of like concerts. I mean, there's concerts where because they don't want anybody to record them, right? They have these bags that you put the phone into a bag and it's
yes,
locked closed,
yes,
and you can
so
take
you
the phone
cannot
with
use it.
you, but
Mhm.
you can't use it during the concert. But when you leave, then they can unlock it. So there are ways of doing these things. We just have to have the
Intentionally
willpower.
do it.
Yeah, we have
Yes.
to intentionally do it.
And I also think before you put your willpower to something, you have that's also very important. You have to face reality. You talked
Mm,
about things that are painful about us, and that's very often people don't want to see it. But I would say it's really important to face reality, even if it's brutal. And we must think long term on a regular basis.
absolutely.
For facing reality, I think there's a very good example. Admiral James Stockdale, the highest ranking survivor of the infamous Hanoi Hilton prisoner of war camp in North Vietnam, who had endured absolute hell and torture for 11 years until he finally made it out and got back home, explained You must never confuse faith that you will prevail in the end, which you can never afford to lose, with the discipline to confront the most brutal facts of your current reality, whatever they might be. I
Mm.
think that's really true. You have to face reality. And also some people, they have this hope that in the new year they will change, something will happen magically. I think that's also delusional. And when Stockdale was asked what sort of people didn't make it out of the camp, he responded, "Oh, that's easy, the optimists."
Hmm.
They were the ones who said, "We are going to be out by Christmas." And Christmas would come and Christmas would go. Then they'd say, "We are going to be out by Easter." And Easter would come and Easter would go. And then Thanksgiving. And then it would be Christmas again. And they died of a broken heart. They sought solace in unrealistic beliefs they knew deep down wouldn't materialize. So when you want to make things real, you cannot lie to yourself. That's
Mm.
a hard truth. We can only
Yep.
create the life we desire with our feet firmly grounded in reality. On this basis, we can create a long term vision and take inspired action steps on a daily basis, consistently. So, what do you do to face reality, Chris?
Oh, facing reality. I love reality. Some people love to live in a
Me too.
fantasy world. Most
Yes,
people, a lot of people live in a fantasy world. They just do not understand reality, but it's part of the connection with truth, right? I mean, I
right.
want to get through, and I think what's happening, I think that's kind of refreshing to some people because there's so many people who are living in these reality tunnels, I guess you could say. They're like they're tunnel visioned into their worldview and they don't see outside of it. And just breaking out of that worldview and thinking to yourself, this is what reality is. This is what truth is, will just clears people's minds and goes like,
Yes.
let's go in this direction. And I think we all do it to ourselves. I mean, even the best of us with the most disciplined of ourselves, that we're fooling ourselves in little ways. And some people might do it in big ways, and some people might do it in small ways. But we all fool ourselves in little things and go, well, this is okay. I can do this. But the
Like telling
reality is,
ourselves that a burger is a vegetable.
yeah, that's right. or or that pile of pistachios is fine. It's okay for me to eat that.
It's green
But
like salad.
yeah, it's green, so it's healthy, right? Not healthy fats, right? But we do need to just look at reality of the cold lens, and
Mm,
it's very very difficult for us to do this, especially. And I think our technology, it's not helping us now because right now that's how it's designed, but it can also
yeah.
help us. I mean, I'm
Mm,
I'm a big fan of using tech to help you, and not every piece of technology is helpful, right? And in fact, most of it is not helpful because all it's trying to do is get you to use it more.
escape. Yes.
But
Mm,
I think human beings, and this is the thing I'm thinking about with my next business, is one of the things that we're kind of weak. We're kind of weak. We're kind of pathetic. It's hard for us to change. It's tough for us to do things.
mm,
So we need help. We need systems around us. We need frameworks.
mm.
We need goals. We need all of these things to help us change the way we want to change. And if the tech can help us to get to those goals, and I think it needs to be really strict. And I think that's the problem with a lot of these things, is that it just goes, oh,
Mm,
it's okay to do that.
mm.
I'm waiting for a world where I tell my AI I want to change this behavior. And what it does is it forces me to change that behavior. So it's kind of like my autonomous vehicle will, if I want to lose weight, my autonomous vehicle won't take me to the meeting. It'll take me 2 miles away from the meeting and drop me there and say, okay, now you got to walk. Or the elevator doors won't open. They'll go, okay, you got to take the stairs. Right. So I want the world around me to
But who
force me
but
to
who
take this path.
but who decides what is good for you?
Oh, well, yeah, that's right. So it's hard to decide what's good for you, but there are certain standards that work for most people, and
Mm,
then what happens is that the tool itself should understand your patterns and learn from you and go, oh, maybe we'll make this change, or maybe we'll do that, or maybe we'll do this, and look for a personalized system for each individual, because I think that's what we need to do. All of
mm.
these systems that are being sold out there, like self-help books and all that stuff, are generalized information, right? They don't work for a specific person.
Right.
That's why I have a real
People are
problem with the
different.
success industry, because it's like one person who had
did this
success
and
in a
had success
particular
with it.
fashion.
You cannot replicate it
No, no, no,
usually.
it's
Yes.
impossible. It's
Yeah.
impossible. But
Usually,
people read these books and they go, "Oh, I can do the same thing," and they never do.
yes. And then you're not unique, and
Yeah.
you will not make it. Um, that's very true. And what I also tell you, and I believe that if you really do what you are meant to do, everything will be easy. You will be
Mm.
in a flow state, and things will come easily. That's what they tell you, right?
Yeah.
But I've encountered a strange phenomenon. The more dedicated and committed you are, the more resistance you face when creating something new, both externally and internally. And when I read Stephen Pressfield's amazing book, The War of Art, it really
Mhm.
hit me. He
Yep.
really brings it home. He explains in detail that resistance is not only very powerful, but totally normal. What
Mhm.
a relief. I used
Yeah.
to think something was seriously off, but nothing went wrong. Resistance
Yeah.
is just a normal reaction to great endeavors. Take a second to let it sink in. For
Yeah.
me, that
Yeah.
really changed everything. So,
Yeah.
resistance is also not your enemy. It actually shows you where to go. So, work
Yeah.
with it instead of against it.
Well,
But what do
it's
you do
interesting.
to overcome the natural resistance? Because I think everyone has it. What do you do? You already mentioned the writing sprint habits. Do you have any other habits to overcome the
Uh
resistance?
No, it's just basically bullishly setting time aside and going, "This
Mm,
is what I'm gonna work on at this point," and
yes.
being
Yes.
really strict about it. And but the interesting thing you say about a resistance is that a lot of resistance actually comes not from within, but from without,
Yes.
right?
Oh,
Because
I'm so
if
glad
you
you
want
say that.
you
It's
want to
true,
change
isn't it?
most of
It's
it.
true.
In fact, all of it does, right? Because
Yeah.
think of it this way. Okay. If you lived by yourself as a hermit in the middle of nowhere, you could become a new person each day and it would be fine. It would be easy to become a
Mm,
new person every day.
right.
I'm
That's
going to
true.
work out. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. You could change your entire life day after day after day and be a completely new person. But
Mm,
we don't live in the middle of nowhere as hermits. We're in a social web, right? We have our friends, we have our families. People expect specific behavior from you. They go, "Oh, Chris is like this. Ursula's like that. This is what you're like." So when you decide one day, I'm going to become a gym rat, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to work out, I'm going to blah, blah, people are like, "What's wrong with you? What happened to you? You're a different person. Why are
mm.
you
And they
changing?"
don't like
"I
it
don't like this."
because they didn't change, and you show them
Exactly.
that it can happen. So it's a
Exactly.
disgrace
So
for them usually.
yeah, so almost that's almost the strongest signal to get people to stop doing something because as soon as you start pushing against this social web that you're caught in, trying to get out of it, people are constantly pushing you back
Like,
into the slot that you're in, and eventually by the end of January, you're back in your slot again and you're like toast. So you really need your friends and family, your social network to support you in the changes that you're going through.
that's right.
Because I think that's probably the strongest reason or the biggest reason why people don't change is
That's
because
right.
of their social connections.
Yes, I heard a German neuroscientist talk about the two needs, very strong needs we basically have. And the one is the need for belonging, and the other is the need to venture out. And actually, they are working against each other because
Yeah.
the belonging is I cannot change. I have to be the same person for my tribe. And the other
Yeah.
is, oh, I have to change everything. I have to conquer the world. So it's basically, I think that's the tug of war in life,
Yeah.
isn't it? And
Yeah.
as
Well,
an
that's why
entrepreneur.
I think that's why a lot of people change. So when they go to places like camps and stuff like that, like when you go on vacation, like people say,
Mm,
"Oh, I went on vacation and I ate crappy food and I still lost 3 pounds." Yeah, because you weren't in the same social situations that you were, and the same situations that you were when you're doing your normal day to day things. So a lot of times when people go to places like camps and places where they detox, like where they leave. They actually leave their life and they leave their friends and they go somewhere for 2 to 3 weeks or whatever, and they can come back as a totally different person because they
mm,
need to be separated from this social network that they're jammed in the middle of to be able to
that's true.
change. So one of the biggest reasons why we can't change is because of everyone around us is expecting us to remain the way we are.
Exactly.
unfortunately.
And the technical tools, technology is also reinforcing that.
Yep.
And the problem, we already talked about long term thinking. You were mentioning it independently from me. In a world of instant gratification, long term goals and growth are almost frowned upon. But
Hmm.
studies show that long term thinking is the key to success. Yet, everything is working against it.
Yep.
Emails, meetings, Zoom calls, 1001 distractions. We are bombarded with constant overstimulation, offering us an easy escape from the pain of focused work. There's
Hmm.
so much around us nudging us toward short term thinking and tempting us with instant rewards. Social media and the internet have messed with our long term thinking and our ability to focus deeply on what's in front of us. But we can change that. And they did it so much so that Steve Jobs, who sold millions of phones and tablets, banned his own kids from using them.
Yep.
So I think he was very right about that, and he must have known something, right?
Yep.
So I
Well,
think,
and you can do this. I mean, there are ways. Just turn off notifications. So there
mm,
are places on the internet which actually say to you how to become more distraction free, like how to make your phones more distraction free. And I found an article on that, and I did this. I did this to my phone. So I took all the apps that were all the
pushing
Facebook and social
notifications.
media, and I take them off the homepage. Right,
Mm.
just put the absolute most essential things on the homepage. Make it difficult to find it. Introduce drag into the stuff that you don't want to do, and pull the stuff that you want to do to the forefront. So and reorganize your notifications so you only get the absolute most urgent notifications. So there are ways of playing with your technology to make it work better. But a lot of times people don't do that, right? They just they
Yes.
just take the phone as it is and they go, "Buh, buh, 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 buh." But yeah, we need to work with our technology to reduce the amount of distractions that it's forcing upon us.
Yes, I think we must resist the temptations and boldly and rebelliously think
Yeah.
long term. Chris, some
Yeah.
final rebellious remarks on that
Well, I mean, it's like that the marshmallow test. Remember the marshmallow test where they
with
put
a kid?
yeah, the kids marshmallow test where they put a marshmallow in front of the kid and say, "Hey, if you don't eat this marshmallow, you can get two in 15 minutes." And the ones who didn't eat the marshmallow actually ended up being more successful in life. So it's the marshmallow test all over again. It's like if you can delay gratification, if you can look towards the future, if you can focus on where you want to be, and get to your and make sure and understand that it's going to take a lot longer. That's the one that's like of the many things that I say, one of the things that I think is absolutely true is that everything takes longer than you think.
Yes,
Everything. It doesn't matter what it is.
that's
If you want
also a
something to
very good
happen,
wording. Yes,
if you want
it
something to
always
happen,
takes.
it's
Yes,
across the board, right? People say, "Oh, this project's going to take 3 months." No, it's not. That building's going to be built in a year. No, it's not. Everything takes longer than you think. And if you can
have you
ingrain
ever
that into
tried
your brain.
remodeling your house?
Exactly. Everything takes longer than you think. And once you
They say it
understand
takes
that,
1 year, it at least takes four.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And once you understand that everything takes longer than you
Longer than
think,
you think. That's
yeah,
true.
then what ends up happening is that you kind of you can relax. Like if you really sort of bring that into your soul and understand that everything takes longer, then you can go, you know what? Why am I in such a rush? It's going to take whatever time it takes instead of I got to get this done at this particular moment. And it's great. It's great if you work at a company that's okay with that, but I think that's a mindset we need to understand that things will take longer than you think they will.
That's absolutely right. And only then can you work on a consistent basis. I think
Yeah.
it's really very important to put aside time to do something consistently every day and work
Hmm.
towards your goal, but also have in mind it always takes longer than you think.
Yeah. Always.
Thank, always. Thank you very much, Chris. So now, from my heart to yours, I will not tell you to make 2024 your year. I want more for you. I want you to live the life you truly want to live. It won't happen overnight, and that's okay. Start long term thinking today. It's not a sprint, it's a lifelong habit. But it will give you clarity and make you more happy, fulfilled, and successful than ever. This year and next year and the year after that. If you now decide to skip resolutions that will never materialize altogether and want to become serious about living the life you want to live instead, I have a process for that. It's called future scenario thinking. Reach out to office@redswan.at if you would like to learn more about it. I love to hear from you. To the life you want to live. See you next time.